Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to put forth some ideas on what the big plot twist at the end of Season 3 of the Wheel of Time could be. The production has stayed pretty tight-lipped so far, and of course as we get new information, all of this could be changed. But it's always fun to theorize, and before I begin, this episode will contain spoilers up to Book 6, Lord of Chaos. If you enjoy these types of videos, let me know by giving this one a like and subscribe to the channel for more Wheel of Time content. So let's get into it. If you've been paying close attention to the Wheel of Time television show, you'll notice that at the end of every season, a new antagonist is revealed in the final moments of the last episode. Season 1 portrayed the Sanche army arriving on the continent with leashed channelers, and at the end of Season 2 we met Morgase, a new Forsaken warning Lanfear that Aiel had released her and all the others. So, with this in mind, it's fair to estimate that the end of Season 3 will also bring forth another big plot twist to get viewers primed for the next season, but also as a way to introduce a large storyline to come. It's something that the show has done really well, in my opinion. So, the first thing that comes to mind for an end-of-season plot twist is the deposition of Siuan Sanche. It's been said that Season 3 will follow the books more so than the first two seasons, and this would be a very fitting close to the last episode. It's likely that Elaida will be introduced earlier in the season, so this would slightly stray from the pattern of a completely unknown antagonist entering the fold in the last minutes of the episode. But for non-book readers, it would be a major shock. It would also leave a lot of open-ended questions for the next season, with the fate of the White Tower hanging in the balance. The next obvious choice would be the Shaido breaking off an open rebellion. Again, in this example, the antagonistic force will have most likely already been introduced at this point, but it would have some flair for the dramatic. If we end the season with the events of Rand in the Waste, the Battle of the Two Rivers, the escape from the Panarch's palace, and the removal of Siuan Sanche, the show could loop back around after Couladin and the Shaido have left and see them engaging in behavior that completely defies everything we know about the Aiel in terms of honor. A good moment to see on screen would be a plot twist where we see the Shaido laying waste to several towns and strongholds as they make their descent towards Cairhien. This would also set up next season for Mat to have a major plotline. If he doesn't have some of his major moments in Season 3, like his dealings with the Finn, I could see Season 4 spending more time with Mat. Ending the Season 3 final episode with the Shaido would feel like a big confirmation that Mat gets ample character work moving forward. It also sets up the second Battle of Cairhien as a main plot point for Season 4, which is essentially what every plot twist at the end of a season has done so far. I think this could be the most likely option. I get really excited thinking about how the battle could look because it will be the first major pitched battle with actual warriors. The next idea might be a bit early to show for the end of Season 3, but I think it could be really exciting. And that's a meeting made up of the Salidar Six, or the 6 rebel Aes Sedai that organized the rebellion opposing Elaida. If we had a meeting of these Aes Sedai, we could see them plotting and discussing the idea of a new Amyrlin, someone naive and easy to control, and putting forth the idea of waging war on the White Tower. Honestly, I love this idea. The thought of prepping non-book readers for the idea that two factions of Aes Sedai are potentially going to go to war with one another is a really big plot twist. But it doesn't really fall into the pattern of what we've seen so far of introducing a new antagonist or bad guy. But stepping out of the pattern would definitely make the scene more surprising and less expected. I could also see it as a really fun Season 4 opener I'm crossing my fingers and praying that we actually get there. The next idea on the list is really cool, but probably the most unlikely of all, and that's having Padan Fain meeting Elaida and Valon. There's many reasons why it would be interesting. For one, it would have people guessing if Elaida is a dark friend, but if done correctly, it could pepper in one of my favorite all-time fan theories that when Fain meets with Elaida, he's brushed her with the evil he carried from Hall, and that she becomes so suspicious that she wouldn't even trust her own mother. Unfortunately, the show hasn't really given much backstory to Mordath and Hall, but we did have the hint of Fain being in Shadar Logoth with the whistling you can hear in the Shadows Waiting episode of season 1. This would be a guilty pleasure moment, but like I said, probably unlikely. On top of that, Elaida doesn't need to go crazy due to a run-in with Padan Fain to be compelling and really interesting. She's already all of that on her own. The next idea is a point of view from Morgase, where we see her being compulsed by Rahvin, revealing him to be one of the Forsaken. Now, the only way I could see this happening is if the show decides to really explore the story of Morgase and are wanting to dedicate ample time to it. But considering that the plot twist of season 2 is the release of all the Forsaken, this feels a little bit like a continuation. Personally, I love Morgase as a character, and I wouldn't mind a twist revealing the strongest nation of Andor is being run by one of the Forsaken. It works as a nice way to bring in the succession story for Elaine, but it doesn't really have the pizzazz as some of the other options, unless they decide to make Rahvin one of the bigger antagonists of season 4. It also doesn't really leave a big surprise for the book readers. Lastly, the final option would be an early introduction of Mazrim Taim. He's already been mentioned in the television show, but for this to work, it would mean the show speeds past a lot of Book 5 and moves quickly into Lord of Chaos. And honestly, I don't hate this idea, but it would take major condensing. At the speed of which the television series is going, they should essentially hit Lord of Chaos by season 4 or 5 if they intend on finishing the story in 8 seasons. The introduction of the Black Tower would fit in nicely for season 4 so that there's ample time to get acquainted with the Ashaman. And I say this because Dumai's Wells is one of the pinnacle moments for the show to explore. And to give it the depth it requires, I think we will need to have a strong connection to Mazrim Taim and the Men of the Black Tower. I could see an ending to episode 8 where Mazrim Taim escapes his Aes Sedai captors and proves himself to be very dangerous, but incredibly talented in the One Power, allowing him to meet up with Rand later on in the next season. An early introduction to Taim and maybe a hint to the idea that Rand is wanting to organize male channelers earlier on in the season would combine to make a really incredible end of the season plot twist. And if Rand makes the proclamation that he's willing to start his own army of male channelers, I think it will really show him coming into his own as a leader, confident enough to do something very controversial. Overall, I think there are a lot of options I'm probably missing, and as time goes on, we will probably end up knowing more and be able to make better guesses. But I love taking a minute to theorize and guess what could be. I do think it's probable that the end of season 3 plot twist will be something other than another Forsaken moment. So I'm more confident about it being the Shaido, Taim, or the Salidar Aes Sedai, but personally would love it to be Mazrim Taim. So I'm going to ask my lovely viewers, what type of moment do you want to see at the end of season 3? And what's something as shocking as the past choices of the introduction of the Sanche and Mogideon? Is there an option that you think translates well as a big surprise for the book fans? as well as a moment intriguing enough for non-book readers? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you back next time.